Here we go again.
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connections in mind. Joker is now in theaters nationwide. It is directed by Todd Phillips and stars Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, the man who will become known as the Joker in this film. This does not share any continuity or connection with the other DC films of the DC Extended Universe, such as Aquaman, Justice League, what have you. This film focuses on Arthur Fleck's descent into the madness that will ultimately consume him and his transformation into the Joker, the circumstances surrounding that. This is really more of a character study into what this particular version of the Joker looks like. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Joker as well as certain other films as well. I'll be putting a full list in the description below. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts and review of the film before I get into any spoilers. However, just know that will be coming up later in this video. So, getting into things, what did I think of Joker? Is it a good movie, bad movie, and do I recommend seeing this in theaters, I should say? I would say it's definitely a well-crafted film, and it is definitely a film that is worth seeing in theaters. It is definitely worth your time. However, in order to address this film fully, you have to sort of rebut some of the extreme controversy that has been surrounding this film in recent weeks leading up to this film's release. Such as, does this film glorify violence? I would say no. It definitely features a lot of violence, some definitely personal violence. I wouldn't say it glorifies it. Does this film encourage people to violence? I would say no. Any rational person would see that this film does not encourage violence in that sense. However, there are definitely irrational people who may take the wrong impression from this film and do something. But I feel like that's part of this movie's message, and the conversation around it should be focused on who are the people who would be attracted to this sort of thing, and even normal people who see something in this film. Is that something that they should be discussing, whether or not they identify with certain elements of the characters in this movie? And that's something for discussion as well. Again, this is definitely not a traditional comic book movie. If you're going into this seeing just the fact that it has a comic book setting and the main character is a comic book villain and it takes place in Gotham and Arkham and stuff, if you just see that and think it's just going to be a normal superhero film, I would say avoid this film because it is definitely not that. However, I will say this is definitely, like I said, a well-crafted film. The cinematography is excellent in this. The score of this film also works well in conjunction with certain scenes to build that mood the way it's supposed to. It does a very good job of that. I'd say Joaquin Phoenix as the man who will become the Joker, he does a very good job. He is very convincing as someone who is definitely has mental problems, and that should have been addressed but haven't. And I think that this film also does a good job of, if not answering the questions, then at least posing the right questions of how do we treat people such as Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck? How does the system treat them? How do we as ordinary citizens treat them? And do we see things that are happening to this guy and think, I somehow do that unconsciously to other people who I interact with on a daily basis? Should I be doing that? No. So those are the kind of things that this movie does well. What this film lacks, I think, is that I think, as I said, it does a really good job of posing the questions, but I think in certain instances it does tend to get caught up in its own artwork, I should say, rather than diving into addressing the answers, giving an answer to these sorts of questions. Now, that could be because wanting to pose the questions so that the audience can answer for themselves. However, with a subject matter such as this, I think that there are certainly times where it should be giving at least some direction to where this answer should be going. And I don't know if, at least in my mind, if this film does that. Like, what people are saying, the controversy of does it encourage violence? No, but then again, it doesn't. I think in certain instances, it doesn't do as good a job of providing the counterpoint to that violence. I think this definitely is mired very much so in that dark and depressing world of there really isn't much hope, and what hope there is for some people is a madman. So there is that to be considered. But overall, I would say this is definitely a film worth seeing, and definitely worth having a conversation about it afterwards. This is definitely a film to see with friends. See it, go have dinner afterwards and discuss it. This is that kind of movie, not a traditional popcorn superhero film, and I applaud it for that. I wouldn't say this is my favorite film of the year, just because I prefer not to wallow too much into the down and depressing ones. I think it's important to address that, but again, that's that my personal preferences is not my favorite film of the year, and but I absolutely recommend you go see it if you're in the right headscape and willing to view this film on its own terms and answer the questions that it poses in the context that it was meant to be shown, not in a vacuum. So if I was going to give this film a letter grade, I would say this is a solid A-. A very good job by Todd Phillips overall. So some spoiler analysis at this point, where I point to certain things that are certain things related to plot developments and character arcs from Joker that seem familiar and where you may have seen them before. First up, again, there are other films that focus mainly on the villain and sort of a villain origin story, such as Maleficent or something like that, though that's casting her more on a more positive, misunderstood light. I would kind of point towards Unbreakable, just for the fact that both of these are comic book style movies, and Unbreakable also features, feels like more of a supervillain origin story in Mr. Glass at that point, more so than the movie Glass, just because that focuses less so on Mr. Glass's upbringing, whereas Unbreakable does. So I would make that comparison. Also, the fact that there's a sort of twist in Joker, the fact that Zazie Beetz' character, whose name escapes me at the moment, I don't know if she actually is given a name on screen, she is seen as a friendly influence on Arthur Fleck, and then a realization that comes around the end of the second act that she wasn't all the positive things that we saw her do with him over the rest of the movie were in fact imaginary, that he only saw her in the hall once, and he's been imagining her at the comedy club, at his in the hospital at his side with his mother, in the elevator with him, and there's that twist element of it. I mean, you can point obviously to Fight Club with that same sort of twist. Obviously, it's a different spin on it. It doesn't play as much a role in this movie, but there is that parallel to be made. And finally, just a general trope that seems to crop up in a lot of of comic book films, actually, the confrontation on the subway car and a close quarters fight that happens with that. There's one in this film Joker. There's also other comic book films such as Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man. I believe Luke Cage has some in there. So Batman Begins has that fight in the subway, at the subway station. on and on. You can probably name a few more that have the close quarters subway fight in comic books. So there's that common trope to be had there. Those are my main points of comparison with Joker to other films that have come before it. But what did you think of Joker overall? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I miss something? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which will be for, I believe, Terminator Dark Fate, which comes out November 6th, if I'm correct. And in the meantime, I may do another one of my installment of my I've never seen it before reviews of films that I've been meaning to see for a while, but just haven't until now. So yeah, look for all that coming up. And if you like anything that you see on my channel, either this video or anywhere else, anything other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the greatest. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.